In this video, I'm going to talk about if you're learning a language and you've tried to learn it in the past and your attempts have failed, or you've tried and started again and again and again and just haven't got anywhere. You've learned some of the language that you're trying to learn, but you'd like to learn a lot more and your progress is quite slow, really. So, in this video, I'm going to cover why that might be the case and how to overcome those reasons so that you can actually get to your language goals this time. I'm James, I'm native in English, and I can speak Spanish and Italian. I help people reach their language learning goals. So there's a few reasons why you might have tried learning languages in the past and you might have failed. One of which is a language course. Secondly, it's your motive for why you're learning it and having access to native speakers. So let's start with the first version, the language course. So many of you might have tried language apps and stuff before in the past, but one particular thing that a lot of people do when they're learning a different language is they sign up to a language course. Now, this might be online or in person, it might cost, say, a couple of £100, and you expect by the end of it to be at a certain level in a different language. So it might be B1 or B2 or something like intermediate, and that's your goal. Most likely, if you're watching this now, you'll be a beginner and you will have tried learning in the past, but you've not really got too far. So let's talk about why that might be, that in a language course, you might not have seen the progress you're expecting. First reason is because in a course, you're a class of, say, minimum of like 6 people to make it financially worth it, or it could even be up to, say, 30 people if it's in a classroom, for example. But in general, what happens is you are taught the whole syllabus of that language. If I sign up to a course in how to learn Spanish from scratch, from like zero to intermediate or the beginner course of Spanish, then you'll learn all about the grammar and about how to say different things, but a lot of it won't be relevant for what you need it for. So if you want to go and live in Spain or something, you don't need to know all Spanish straight away. I lived in Spain many years ago, and I picked it up as I went along, and that's how you do it. You gain a bit of evidence at a time that you can speak in a certain situation. So you might be navigating around, and you focus on that situation first. You get good at it, have proof, and then move on. But the question you might be saying is, how do you practice what you're learning in a language course? One option is an online language exchange, like HelloTalk or Tandem, where you can message native speakers in the language you're learning. You can chat with them basically, and that's free because you exchange your time. Half an hour of your time, half an hour of theirs. That's an hour, or 15 minutes of each if you wanted to just do half an hour. But that is how you practice it. But my point is, if you started a language course and you're expected to do grammatical exercises, I hated that. I've done many language courses in the past, both for Spanish and Italian, and I never made it fully through the whole thing. When I was in Spain, actually, I was doing a Spanish course there, but I got to practice outside of the classroom. So if I didn't really get on with the grammatical exercises and I didn't find it interesting, I could still have exposure and practice other bits that I enjoyed with native speakers out and about on the streets or making friends. That's what I could do. But many of you watching this might not be living in the country where your target language is spoken. For example, I live in England now and I might be trying to practice Italian. I don't live in Italy, so it's hard for me to get exposure through my work and social life if I'm not really connected with any native speakers. So I could go to a language meetup instead. That might be a different reason, but my point is, if you have tried on a language course before to learn that language, but you haven't really got anywhere, that's one of the reasons why, because they try to teach you all of language at once, where it's not necessary and it takes longer to see progress because you're trying to learn everything at once. Another reason is that you didn't get on with the teacher at your language course. I've tried a few different language courses and I've not got on with every teacher that I've had. It could be as simple as literally they don't laugh at your jokes. And that can seem sort of like petty or something, but realistically, you need good chemicals to be released in your brain. You need to feel good about the language learning process. And if feeling good means that you get to have a laugh with the other students and the teacher while you're doing it, you sort of joke around with each other, then that's the best way to do it because you're enjoying the sessions. You don't want to go into a lesson if it's like 1 hour, 2 hours long, even if it's online or in person, and think, oh, I'm dreading this. I don't like doing boring, dry grammatical exercises, which most people don't like. I'd rather just have fun and have a bit of banter with the teacher. So you might not always get a choice as to who you study with, like which teacher you get if you assign on to a language course, but bear in mind that the reason why you've given up might not be because you're not good at the language, but it might be because a teacher who you were assigned to you didn't get on with really well. So just bear that in mind and don't blame yourself for it. Just understand that it was a situation of how everything was set up and you can overcome that. It just takes more out of the class to actually get better and practice what you learn. Oh, a quick one. If you're a busy person, which I imagine you are, and if you've got a load of things going on and you can't cram language learning activities into your current routine and it's really difficult to, I've created a 30-day free email course where you can sign up to and get daily 1 minute snippets written in email format to you so you can read one if you want to, but it's on a daily basis. So there's a link below to enter your email if you're interested. It's written 100% by me, but it does give you tips every day for the next 30 days on how to learn a language and how to overcome your common struggles despite having a really busy lifestyle. So, next reason why you might not have seen the progress you wanted to on a language course. Not everyone learns at the same speed. So, you have your own pace of learning, and also you might learn in a different way to everyone else. But in group lessons, aka what you'd expect in a language course, you're all taught in the same way. You have the same teacher, you do the same exercises, fill in the blanks and stuff like that, and try and memorize different things and practice with your colleagues. You have the same activities assigned to you. So if you have a different learning style, you're not going to learn as quickly as someone else on the same exercise. You might learn quicker, in which case you're a bit bored because you've already completed everything that everyone else is still struggling with. So that's not ideal. And if you're a slow learner at doing that thing, maybe you're reading and writing, but you're better at speaking and listening, you're better at conversation, then you're not going to be good at doing those exercises. That was my situation where I'm better at just talking and understanding what's going on because of the way that I enjoy language learning and because of how my brain works compared to doing grammatical exercises, which I don't enjoy at all. So I would fall back in that situation and I'd be blaming myself. I'd be thinking, come on, James, you're cleverer than this, you can do it. But actually, it's the way in which I'm trying to learn that's the issue. So as long as you understand that, and outside of the course or classroom, you can understand what exercises you need to do in order to learn in the way that works best for you. So, for example, I might be driving to work or commuting and listening to a podcast in my target language rather than grammatical exercises. Now, another point completely is that in the past, you might have started to learn language, but then you forget what you're using it for and you forget you don't really got any opportunities to use it. So, you might be okay at it, you might be making some progress, but then as the motivation drops and you don't really get the chance to practice with people, you might be thinking, right, I want to move to Spain in the future at some point. I've not got any plans, but I need to learn Spanish so I can communicate with people over there. You might be really motivated to start with, but after a few weeks, you notice how difficult it is to maintain momentum. That's why you need systems, so a daily routine or weekly routine. If you don't have a chance to practice with people and see how well you're doing and see your own progress and feel what it's like to be able to construct words and phrases in your mind and say them and get positive reactions from native speakers, then it's hard really for you to stay committed because you've not really had a chance to expose yourself to it. So that could be a strong reason why in the past you've given up. To counteract that, what you could do is option one, set a deadline, set a strong deadline to when you're going to move to the country. Maybe even get the flight booked. That's a perfect deadline. Or even have an accountability partner. Tell a close friend or family that you're learning this language and ask them to check up on you. And that just makes sure that when you next see them, they might ask you, oh, how's the Spanish going? Or how's the Italian going? And if you've not done anything towards it, you might feel a little bit guilty or like you should have done or something. So that feeling of being scared of being told off, I guess, by your friend or not being accountable for what you're doing, that can really motivate you so that next time you know you're going to meet up with them, you can say, oh, yeah, I've been doing a lot of studying and you feel good about yourself. So that could be one option. But the best option, I think, is that if you've got a set date in mind, for example, if you're going to move to Spain and you've given yourself 3 months, book that flight, a one-way flight, in 3 months' time. That's what you should do. Because then that is a solid deadline and you'll be surprised at how much more effort and the higher priority of anything language related towards Spanish that you will do above everything else. You'll be surprised at how much that helps you get there. So to summarize, if you've tried learning a language in the past but it's not worked for you, it could be a load of different reasons. Some reasons you don't even consciously think about. For example, getting on with a teacher at a language course. That's something that might be subconscious that you just don't feel good about attending a lesson for some reason. You've not really thought about it, but you're just dreading the lesson. But that could be a strong reason. And also trying to learn everything at once in a language course, because that's how it works. You're taught the whole syllabus from naught to the certain level that you want to be at. You taught how to do the grammar in that sense, and as you progress, you learn different bits and different concepts. However, how it works in real life is messier than that. It depends what you're exposed to. For example, if you're used to navigating or traveling around places, you'll be used to asking directions in a language because that will be something that you're forced to do. Or if you're talking with people and you're forced to network in a different situation, you'll be used to saying, hi, how are you, what do you do, where do you live, and small talk with people, and you get good at that. So you tend to get good at things that you're forced to do, and you practice in the scenarios that are relevant for why you want to use them. So if you want to learn it when you're on holiday, you'll get good at holiday Spanish or Italian or whatever language you want to learn. But the main thing is focus on scenarios that are relevant for you. And in a language course, they don't do that. Anyway, as I say, if you're a busy person watching this video right now and you want to be able to learn a language despite being busy, then have a look at my free 30-day email course which tells you exactly what steps to take if you want to learn a language in the shortest possible time, because each email takes 1 minute to read and it's super useful if you want to reach your language goals in less time. So I'll add a link below so you can check it out. And finally, YouTube is really good at recommending content that it thinks you will enjoy and help you get closer to your language learning goal. So in my top right or left, you'll see a box now recommending the next video, and I highly suggest you watch it if you want to get closer to your goals. See you later.